Welcome back to the Profit School by Measure You podcast. This is a business unfiltered edition, conversation between myself, Jeff, and my business partner, Mercer. Mercer, today we're going to be talking about visionary leadership in an AI first business. This is a follow up to one of our previous episodes, episode number 59, if you want to go back and listen to it. And the idea here is, do we still feel the same way about visionary leadership, especially as we have transformed our business into an AI first entity? And we're advocating that other people do this as well. So do we still need it? And how does it look? What's your prognosis? Love to hear your opinion about where it belongs in this AI first world.
Yeah, kind of our initial approach to these podcasts, we're always sort of making those initial definitions, right? Like, what do we think about vision? What do you mean by visionary? What do we mean by leadership? What do we mean by AI first? So I think in this case, the visionary stuff is the direction. Like, what do we do now? And I think there's a lot more people asking that for a lot of reasons in the world. So there needs to be more visionary out there for that, because that answers that question. I think there's that leadership part, which is whose job is it to figure that out? And it's ours as business owners. So there's that leadership part. And then the AI first of it, which is, how do we do this through AI? Like, that's the question people should be asking now more than anything else. And truly being AI first. How do we get work done through AI, with AI, as opposed to just like having that be something that's like on the table that one day we got to figure out how to use. So I guess that's sort of how I'm looking at the sort of overall definition of this. How does that sort of land for you?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely on the same page. You know, when you were talking and thinking about visionary, it's who's going to lead. And I think leadership is very important in this piece, because otherwise if you're not leading your business, then who will? It likely won't be an employee, but that's true whether you're an AI first business or a traditional business. You need somebody to set the vision as to what this is going to be and what you can do. But, I think that the earlier you get into this thing, the more visionary you are by nature. So if you're, if you look at the typical technology curve where you have the innovators, it's 2.5%, early adopters, 13.5%, then you get the early majority, 34%, late majority, 34%, laggard, 16%. So like that's everybody's technology usage. I think AI has been for the innovators for sure to this point, but also the early adopters. And so it's like a perfect example of an early adopter. So, maybe 15% of businesses are actually using this right now. I've seen stats anywhere from like 5.4% from the Census Bureau back in 2024. Now I'm seeing that like 67% of marketers are using it. So whatever the stat is and however you look at it, businesses that are AI first, it's less than 15%. And so if you want your business to be AI first, you have to be a visionary. You have to be at that point, because otherwise you wouldn't be that early adopter that deals with uncertainty, that deals with like the pains. Like, it's not the easiest thing to get a hold, to make work how you want it to, but the more you use it, the better off you're going to be. And so I think that you and I experienced a bit of a wake up call this year, even just thinking like, are we going to be that? We were always early adopters personally, but I don't think that our business was necessarily early adopters with AI. We were all using it a little bit, but the way that we were going to have a business be an early adopter with AI was to say AI first, and to empower and train our internal team so they think AI first with everything. Yeah. And so I think that, that's where the visionary part comes in for me, is that if you're not a visionary, you would be okay with saying, let's wait until AI gets better. But that's the same way of you saying, let's wait until the iPhone gets better, or let's wait till the internet gets faster, or let's wait till these other things are happening. So the visionary part is saying, this is happening whether we like it or not. You were saying in our pre-show that using AI is like using a computer. Are you, yes, you need a computer for your business now. We take that for granted. Everybody's come along to that. Same thing with AI. So visionary means you're doing it faster, sort of, in my opinion.
Yeah. And from my perspective, the visionary part was right before that. All of that was like symptomatic of the vision, which is we have to change and rethink how we think about AI. That's the vision, right? So, because that's what caused all of that was not just going like, oh, we need to be an AI first business, because that's not a vision as much as it is a decision. But the vision of, okay, well, how do we do that? That's the actual, like, where the rubber meets the road. That's the vision, is, oh, here's the map. And so for me, vision's always been that map. Right? Can I see where you're trying to get to from a destination perspective? Can I also see it from where I am, how to get there, so I can connect the dots, right? Because that's what empowers vision. So it was changing how our organization looked at AI by going, wait a second, all this stuff that we've ever learned about how to use AI, all those silly prompting courses, all a waste of time. You don't actually need those. You don't have to understand any of that. That's not how you need to operate with AI. We've been using AI incorrectly all these years through user error, which is why we were getting all these same results everybody else was getting, which was poor quality blog posts or a lot of hallucinations. And it was kind of like a cool toy, but didn't really get work done. But when we changed how we look at it, when we made that visionary adjustment in our company and we said, no, you just use AI to prompt AI and you ask AI, and this is how we use it. You use it differently. You get completely different results, right? That visionary way of using AI changed how we got the results. It made it easier for us to make it an AI first company. It all sort of naturally happened that way. And the team started using it more often because they had a different strategy from which to operate. So that's where I think the visionary leadership came in specifically to help us start moving into that AI first framework, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I like what you're saying because, this episode is visionary leadership. And I started talking about the visionary, like what a visionary does. They sort of see things and they see the future and they try to bring the flatten the curve or bring the curve closer to you.
Yeah.
But leadership is actually putting the skin in the game to make it happen. And I think that's been a big evolution. So I think it's those two things hand in hand. If we didn't lead, then we would just still be fine with the way of doing things 6 months ago, 2 years ago, however long ago, right? Like that's what you're saying, is that we needed to take it on and be like, okay, well, maybe we were doing it wrong. The leadership is saying it's okay to that we did it wrong in the past. That's a sunk cost. Where are we at right now? Let's go forward and who cares if there's a sunk cost fallacy with how we did something a month ago or how we created, I created this thing called AI Prompt Chef and I used it every day and I stopped using it because of this thing. We found evolutionary ways to do that. A visionary and a leader is like, okay, yeah, that served us well through the end of the year, 2024, but now we need to do these new things and we need to keep on evolving. And so I do agree with you that that's where the leadership portion comes in. And, leadership, one thing that I think has really been cool having a business partner in this thing is that we're sort of we're leading off of each other and drafting off of each other, almost like a race. Yeah. So you were like we shouldn't do an AI thing because everybody else is doing AI, and I just bit the bullet and did it last year with the AI Revolution workshop, and it went great. We got the testimonial to visitor rate was like 75%. People are like, this changed everything for me. And this is super exciting. I'm so glad that I did this thing. I was skeptical and we got people to that curve. And then, it served its purpose, but then Mercer comes along and he's like, and you were like, yeah, okay, that's fine. And now you're coming along and you're like, okay, let's get better at prompting. Let's do ping pong prompting. Let's create gems. Let's unlock everything in Gemini. So you're sort of taking the lead and I'm drafting off of that a little bit, but that's allowing me to go do the next thing, which is to take the next step.
Exactly right.
Right. And so it's like the leadership where you have, it's amazing how exponentially better things are when you're leading and when you're also taking turns in leading, if you have the luxury of a business partner, or when you're just like bouncing off and riffing off of your employees, riffing off of your customers or your market. All these different things work. And so that's where the leadership comes in, is that sometimes you do need a lead, but then you need to sit back, watch what the leading helped with, and then adjust that and then come up with the next version of it. And so it's almost like research and development or R&D in doing that. But I love that we've been able to get momentum, like where one person's really hot on something, we ride that wave, and then we let the other person pick up where that is. And we're always baselining up.
Exactly. What comes down to like in just, I think any business development, recipe, whether it's profit schools or anybody else's, there's going to be the strategic stuff, the planning things. There's going to be the tactical stuff, the stuff that you do, right? And so like the visionary, quote unquote, would be like the strategic stuff. The leadership is where you're talking about, okay, this is the actual tactical things that we're doing. So to make it happen. And then you've got the management aspect. And that's what you're talking about with your feedback loop, which is, okay, let's see what worked, what didn't, what do we need to adjust, right? Because another word for leadership is change, which is, because you have to change things. That's the whole point of being a leader, is saying, now we're going this direction or now we're going that direction. So it implies that there's change there. But what is the change? What should it be? And so you've got this. For us, it was that visionary of, yes, let's get into AI and figure out how do we integrate AI. And that was kind of the decision. Like, we want to go this direction. But then there was that tactical of like, okay, well, how do we do this in a way that's simpler and easier and better and gets us different results than what we've gotten before? And that's where we started changing how we thought about it, right? Just at a very base level, how do you interact with this tool? How do you rethink this tool that is this own has its own automated abilities that we're never going to understand, right? How do you interact with it? That's sort of where the tactical stuff was. And we started changing what we were doing there. Instead of us prompting like everybody else said you're supposed to do, we were like, oh no, we just need to have it figure out and understand what the results are we're trying to get, and then it'll figure stuff out. And then you've got that management, which is the review loop, which is the feedback loop, saying, okay, does that give us better results? If so, awesome. Let's continue the direction that we're going. If not, let's tweak it. And that's kind of what you're saying, like we're in the stage of now, as we're just repeating this process. So what we're trying to communicate here is this formula for this visionary leadership. The vision part is your plan, is your strategy. It's here's what I want to do. It's your decisions of direction. That leadership part is, okay, what are the tactical things, the actual action steps, right? The rubber meets the road things that you're going to do. And then you've got that management, that feedback loop that you have to have, because if you don't do that, you're not listening. And if you're not listening to the system, your system's not going to adjust, and it's not really visionary anymore, And so just having those three things, I think, has helped us a lot to cycle through this and continue to improve the amount that AI is being integrated into our business. Like, it's very rare I don't use AI for something in my workday nowadays, just because it's easier and faster. And to be honest, it's a lot more fun. Like, that's my favorite part about it, is that work just got easier. Doing that. But again, it was because we had the guts to change and say, okay, let's try to do this a different way. Let's interact with this tool in a different way.
I love that.
My little riff on that.
Yeah, I like that, because you're right. I mean, even in podcasts, we talk about strategies and tactics and then final thoughts and everything like that. But the strategy is, hey, we're an AI first company now. That's also the vision. Like the idea is, how do we make this happen? That's leadership embodied. Like, top-down leadership is like, hey, this is what we're going to do now. But a lot of people say that. A lot of people say, hey, we should be posting on social more, and then nobody posts on social media. Or people say, hey, we should be doing this, and nobody does it. We should be saving everything into Google Drive, and nobody does it. Or we should be mentioning this in the ClickUp tray, which is what we use in our system. And if people don't do it, then the leadership, the vision doesn't really matter. So it does come down to some tactical stuff. So here's some things that we do practically to reinforce this in our business. I'll start with management. Management, the first one is that we do give a feedback loop. You mentioned that, but the specific way we do that is, if somebody asks Mercer or me a question, we don't give them the answer anymore. We say, what does AI tell you? Okay, so everybody, and anywhere, if anybody asks a question, hey, how should I do this thing? We just say, what does AI tell you to do? Chat with Gemini and just ask it, what should I do in this situation? Give it as much information and see what their answer is. Chances are their answer is 80% of the way there, and you can get pretty far with 80%, right? It's like, how do I answer this customer service query? Ask Gemini how I would do it. Or search through stuff we've done before with Notebook LM and ask the Notebook LM, how would we handle that? Look at we recorded customer conversations. Look at how we answered it with previous customers. Use AI to search through Help Scout, our support tool, or your support desk. Take anything, look at search through all the posts on Circle and see what the most common problems are. Just do that. Use AI to summarize what the problem is and see if you can find the answer, because chances are 8 times out of 10, you will get it, and you'll be more efficient and get along with what you're doing, and it will just pop up. Well, guess what happens there? Everybody becomes better at their gig. Everybody becomes better and more effective. Everybody's happier. We get more done. And we can focus on solving bigger problems, things that maybe AI can't do right now, or things that are much more, things that are going to move the needle more for the business. And then the other thing is the tactical part. Like, that AI is your tactical. In many cases, AI is the tactical way of getting something done. And so even somebody who you might have hired as a tactical person, a virtual assistant, or a marketing associate, somebody who's, traditionally doesn't get a lot of autonomy in what they do, they're earning their own autonomy by going AI first. And so that's a really cool thing, is like, you're actually having somebody who never would have thought of this in their life, because we're helping them do this. We're giving them autonomies in ways that they never have had access to before. And that's really cool. That's a great equalizer in the global economy. It allows people to do more with less. It allows people to do more and potentially get paid more, because you don't need to have as many people on your team. So it helps you join and build a lean organization. And so the way that we do that one specifically with tactical is it's both the management is reinforcing this, like, hey, you should use AI first. But the tactical is every Monday on our weekly call, we do something called AI show and tell. And so AI show and tell is basically, what did you do in AI the last week? And it's from everybody in the team. Anybody can raise their hand and show them, and you're showing them things you did with automation, things you did with GPT models, things you did with video, audio, ads, whatever your discipline is. Anything from execution and operations of the business to product development, we use it all the time, to marketing. Of course, marketing is the use case we often think of with AI, is putting something out there, but you'd be surprised how every single aspect of the business can do that. And if you add this feedback loop where anybody can show you what they've learned, it creates a virtuous cycle, because it's not just the leaders that are doing it anymore. The team is doing it. It's the system, it's the management. And I think that's a huge win for us, is this AI show and tell, because it lets anybody have that level of playing field.
Yeah, and to that point, everybody has, which is great. Everybody on the team, no matter where they are and what they do in the organization, has figured out some way to integrate AI with it, because they saw other people on the team doing it and going, "Oh, that's cool. I didn't think about that. I'll do it. I'll do it for this reason or that reason or whatever the thing is." A couple of things just to double click. One is that we've talked about a delegation, that rule of C and C, which is that, who's got the capability and who has the capacity. And the person who's got the capability, they all go in the group, and whoever's got the capacity, the most capacity, that's the person that gets the task, right, assigned, or whatever the thing is that needs to be done. The power of AI is that it dramatically improves everybody's capability on your team. Like, it levels it up by 1,000. If it's unlocked properly, right? If they're integrated with AI, and they sort of, like, I'm thinking about AI like this mech suit that we wear digitally, right? So we have our individual little human abilities, or I can put on this mech suit in the digital world that is AI, that gives me all the additional strength and smarts and, implants into the neural brain patterns and all the other stuff that I can do. Well, there's a lot more capabilities I have with that mech suit, as long as I know how to use it. And then the question, this is the real double click on what you were talked about, the fact that we're constantly asking, that is the visionary leadership, when you're saying, "Hey, that's a great question. What did AI tell you?" Because obviously you already did that. Like, and now they know that question's coming. So they come in knowing they're going to have a conversation about, yeah, here's what AI said. I'm just stuck. Right. But at least they're trying to use it. And we can go back and say, okay, well, how did you use this tool? Or where was the prompting go wrong? Okay, did you ping pong prompt it? Or did you try your human prompt? Like, maybe that's why that happened. And, it goes back to using the system to improve the system, which triggers the feedback loops. It makes sure that the things are written in ClickUp. We started creating gem trays just as a way to help everybody communicate and share the wins that they were getting with AI. In Gemini, they call them gems. ChatGPT has the ChatGPT assistant model, same basic concept. But the idea is that we've now got prompt trays that we can pass around to the rest of the team and say, "Hey, here's a really good system that we've been using for this specific thing." So everybody can build the same thing, practice it, iterate on it, and keep the conversation in the same place. And the whole team grows. If one of us, and this is the beauty of AI, if just one of us figures out how to unlock a certain component of it or get better results from it, all of us now know how to do it, because it's such a simple recipe to communicate. That's the power of that tool.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I like the thought of that is getting that capability. You give more capability to anybody. So the capacity, capability, you generate capacity and you generate capability. So it's one of the few things that is deflationary. It reduces the cost of doing things
dramatically. And every day AI is getting cheaper to use, right? It used to be like, OpenAI was talking about $200 price point for their most highest level tool. And they're even saying in a year that it would be basically $2.
Nice.
Like, it's just dropping so fast.
Yeah.
Compute costs.
Well, and they have to make some money off this stuff too, but they do it based on mass adoption and making it a utility, right? The utility companies get paid pretty well.
Exactly.
As we were talking,
electricity. Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, I wrote down reverse engineering what makes you successful is another way to utilize this thing, and like what makes your business successful. So we've done a lot of this thing as like, hey, using the deep research model, doing as much research as we can to get the information in place, or finding a successful copywriter, reverse engineering what makes them successful. What is their methods? I use swipe files like Notebook LM for swipe files. So I've been big on using Notebook LM to only training it on what makes me unique. Like, hey, this is stuff that I've done, so I want it to sound like me. So it's like an AI of me, or an AI of our company, or our trainings, or whatever. That's been helpful. But I think that there's other ways, there's other inputs into that, which is really cool too. So you can take those inputs and now you don't have to necessarily have them in a Notebook LM. You can create these gems, and a gem can give you documents as well. So you're referencing documents that anybody can use, and you're referencing the language model of the whole internet. It's the ability to search, the ability to surf looking at documents, the ability to do visual recognition. I know you're really big on that one, is like, show me what's on my screen and tell me how to make it better. So I like the idea of just connecting the dots with various pieces, and really just like that's what we're saying about prompting. Prompting is important in some ways, but spending all your time creating the perfect prompt is not as necessary anymore, because there's other ways to do it. You can actually, it's really more of a common. It's not just the prompt; it's the information you feed it. So a lot of what we called prompting was actually just getting the right inputs, but there's more opportunity now. There's more extendability of the inputs, so you can get better outputs by nature and more complex outputs by nature too. Right. So the reason why we have said that AI, isn't maybe the best thing for measurement is because of the access to the data. It's because they can't see it. They can't get out of everything in there. But as that becomes more extendable and more available, and as an input you can use, then measurement will be straightforward. It'll be pretty easy to do it. But you have to make sure that it is set up properly, that you're getting the data in the right way, that you're doing all these things that we talk about, from our measurement brand as well. And so to me, it's getting easier and easier to train AI to be consistently like you, by reverse engineering what made you successful, by adding research. But it's to keep it there, just to say, hey, the best use case of AI is that it's like I have this brain plugged into me, or like I'm like a cyborg and I have that's like, you have infinite capacity and infinite capability as well. So like your leveling up is going to be even better if you keep on going. So don't just take it as like, hey, this will make me more efficient. I can work 1 hour and be the same person. The thing is, the bar is going to be raised. There's not, being the same person is probably going to be a pretty easy thing to replace pretty soon here. So you got to realize that that's where the visionary part comes in, is like, what happens after after I'm done being who I was 2 years ago? Then it's like, now this is going to enable you to be who you're going to be 10 years from now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the trick from specifically for the AI first business, when you're trying to just to kind of bring it back to that topic of that visionary leadership of how you're thinking about AI is what's causing your problems with AI, or how you're thinking about AI is what is causing your rewards that you're getting from AI. But it's how you're thinking about it. So if you don't like the results you're getting, you got to change how you think about it. My suggestion personally would be kind of do what we're doing, which is you kind of Jeff's point earlier. You don't think about the prompting, because the prompting isn't it. Even though I know people talk about in terms of input and output, it's you have to define the result to AI. That's all a prompt is. It defines a result. And when you start getting really good at defining the result and forgetting about prompting and just say, I just need to define the result better and get more clear on the result that you're trying to get from AI delivers you the better output. Like Jeff was saying, it delivers you that better result. But it's because of how clear you were on the initial result. That alone is an incredible skill that I think AI is such an underrated gift, that this tool called AI is going to help train us, all of us humans, on getting much better at figuring out how to speak in terms of results and understand the results that we're trying to get. That's going to help not just with AI, that's going to help just the world, because humans will naturally start doing that with humans as well. And we'll get much better at speaking in terms of the results that we're looking for, because at the end of the day, that's how you get this visionary leadership. You have to get very, very clear on your result. You got to get specific on your result. You've got to define that result. And when you do that, the path naturally appears to start getting that result. And of course, that's one of the reasons we use AI, to help us reveal that path. That's the whole point of it. It works incredibly well. But you do have to, I think to your point, you have to keep that mindset of, this is how we work now. You don't go back. You don't just go like, okay, cool. That used to take me 7 hours. Now it takes me 5 minutes. Because it takes you 5 minutes, but somebody else is going to work 10 minutes, and they're going to come in, they're going to outcompete you, or they're going to replace you if you're on a team member, because somebody else is going to do more because they figured out that they just want to be able to do the job. But I'd say another huge benefit to AI that I mentioned earlier is that work becomes more fun. And that's the part that I think people are missing out on, is they're not having as much fun with it as they could be. And if work becomes easier, like what the heck of a vision to be able to give to your company. Like, let's make work a little bit easier every day. Let's not put in all this effort, stress, and all these things that we're having to do, because AI can handle all that. We just need to give direction, right? And get better at making sure that the results that we get from AI, we're actually implementing, and as long as we just focus on that part, But the idea is that now the steps that we're taking are more certain, right? They're more stable because they've been through AI. We've got a better plan. We have better tactics. We have a higher level of probability of success. The world becomes a little bit easier for us because the things that we're doing actually start working. We actually start taking actions, and that's half the battle is that. So I think that's sort of how, to tie it all together, and we can, pass it back to you for final thoughts. The way that I think about AI in any sort of organization, but specifically to visionary leadership, is you're focusing AI on what are the results that we want. That helps the entire team, and especially yourself as a business owner, get very clear on the result that you want, because you can use AI to help you with this, and you should. It is mind-boggling what AI will help you mentally get through when you ask it stuff, and when you use it as a tool. That it can be like this. When you try to describe the result and say, you figure out what I'm trying to get to, and then you tell me how to get to there. What are the thoughts I need to be thinking? What are the insights I should be having? What's the information that I should already know? And then it tell you that, and you instantly get that. You're like, oh my gosh, like, again, it's that mech superpower feeling. Then it's making sure your team is doing that. Because if you don't do it first, you can't lead the team. So you have to do that stuff first. You have to feel that feeling. Then you go to the team. You show them what's going on. And like Jeff was saying earlier, you're asking that question. Cool. How did that's a great question on that email, or on that, what you think the headline should be and what we should be doing for the social media post. What did AI say? What did AI tell you? What were the suggestions you got? Because it's right there at your fingertips now. And then everybody starts using AI first. And then it's just rinse and repeat, open to feedback, making sure everyone's sharing. Like we do Jeff had mentioned on our weekly calls, we do the A&I show and tell with the team, which helps motivate the team. And obviously the people who are a little nervous start getting less nervous because they see everybody else doing it. And it just keeps going up and up, higher and higher and higher. And the goal at that point is just keep your foot on the gas. And nose to the grindstone, foot in the gas. So with that, I will pass it over to you for kind of any final thoughts you have on any of that.
Yeah. So as you were talking, just the idea of results, I just wrote down that agents, like AI agents, you hear a lot of talk about that. It's sort of like a result in the box, which I really like. And the thing is, like, the reason why AI agents work well for us, I think we should do a whole episode on AI agents. Actually, I think we'll get that into the docket here. But I'm using an AI agent right now that's a copywriting one, and it basically says, "What result do you want?" And then I tell it what result I want, and it just creates the whole campaign, because I'm not telling it how steps. And then something you've been big on is, like, if you tell it how steps, you're already defeated, because you're trying to tell AI, something that knows everything, how to do something when you don't know everything. So it's like the blind leading the competent, right? So it's like you're just a poor leader at that point. But agents are like, hey, I need the best copywriter in the world, and somebody who's a great copywriter or somebody who understands it went out and created an agent that you can just tap into, and you can say, hey, best copywriter in the world, give me this result. Give me emails, give me social posts, give me a sales letter, give me a video sales letter, those types of things. And bam, now it's done for you. So an agent is like a result in a box. And I think it's a way of just basically saying, I want to start with that result and then work backwards. So I want to do an episode on agents, Mercer, because I have a lot more to say on that. But we're sort of ending this one. And then also, agents are a way that you can be a visionary, right? Visionaries in leadership, they tell people what to do. Like, I want this result, go do it. That's how every good company CEO works. And every good company is that way. Hey, go get this result and go do it. Right. And then they give autonomy to the people to go do that. And that's where they get the better results. The people who are saying, hey, you have to do it this way, that's not really leadership. That's not going to get you the best result possible, because you're telling somebody how to do it. You shouldn't tell somebody how to do it. You say, I want the result, go get it for me. And so I think we're going to leave on that note on this episode of the Business Unfiltered conversation of the Measure You, Profit School by Measure You podcast. Mouthful here. Share what you've learned, and be sure to check us out at profitschool.com, and make sure you join that community and rate and review on your favorite podcast platform. And we'll see you in the next episode.